Hello everyone, it's me Clayton. I just finished watching Inside Out 2. Now, the first Inside Out, back in 2015, is often considered one of Pixar's greatest achievements, especially with how it characterizes the emotions living in one's head. Though some people could make the assumption that it was basically a different interpretation of Osmosis Jones, it didn't matter if the idea was done before. What matters is what's brought to the idea that's new and interesting. And I could say the same thing with this sequel, as it brings in new emotions, a new conflict, and just happens to build upon the ideas of the first film rather well. So let's get to the story, shall we? The story involves the fact that Riley is now a teenager. She's going into high school, she's doing well as a hockey player, and she's trying out for this training camp to possibly become a hockey player for one of her favorite teams. In high school. Not We're not talking NHL stuff here. So, Joy, played by Amy Poehler, Sadness, played by Phyllis Smith, uh, Anger, played by Lewis Black, Fear, played by Tony Hale this time, and Disgust, played by Liza Lapira. So that means we have no Bill Hader, unfortunately, and no Mindy Kaling, which is good. Anyways, the five emotions seem to be going through the motions pretty well until some new emotions come in thanks to Riley going through puberty. These emotions include anxiety, played by Maya Hawke, envy, played by Iowa Dabiri, and ennui, and embarrassment, played by Paul Walter Hauser. Uh, Anxiety basically takes over Riley's mind since she believes that Riley needs more sophisticated emotions than what her original five set could offer. And not only does she suppress the set emotions with the help of embarrassment, envy, and ennui, but she basically takes over Riley's mind to make her act in a very anxious way that ultimately causes her to make various mistakes for what she believes is going to help Riley in the future. So the five the five emotion crew have to go through Riley's mind and find her original belief system and her original sense of self in order to supposedly save Riley. And if you've seen the original Inside Out, you definitely can tell what certain parts of the plot are going to be. Joy is going to find out that anxiety is a necessary part of Riley, but at the same time, anxiety is an example of an emotion who goes too far when it comes to how she operates in Riley's mind. You could say it's similar to Joy's initial um, conflict with sadness, but sadness was one of those emotions who really seemed to only come in when she had to come in, because sadness is just a necessary emotion of one's emotional state. Anxiety is also necessary, of course, but she definitely has a more forceful method of coming in, which definitely fits the emotion well, and it definitely shows what happens to one's mind when anxiety completely takes over your entire personality. I that's what I generally like about the film. It takes Riley for a completely new challenge, and it definitely shows how in your teenage years, your emotions can definitely feel like they're going haywire. Anyone who grew up definitely can relate to that, especially in some early scenes where Riley first wakes up after going through puberty. On top of that, it's really nice to see that Pixar's animation hasn't lost its touch when it comes to honoring other animation styles. There's, of course, the great 3D animation that naturally is about as good as the first film, if not even better. But there's also some cardboard cutout animation. There's stuff that's related to video game graphics, and even preschool kids shows that happen to have their own animation styles in Riley's mind. It's very creative, and it happens to build upon Riley's mind in a way that feels like a natural extension of the first film. When it comes to Pixar sequels, some of them are pretty good but don't manage to live up to the original, like with Incredibles 2. Some of them are even better, such as with Toy Story 2, and some of them are so much worse, like they were with Cars 2. With Inside Out 2, I'd say it's only a tiny notch below the first one. I think the first one just hit harder for me and for a lot of other people, but this film definitely gets very close to reaching those same emotional heights. So that's why I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. See you next time.